Hey guys, this is Mrs. Silva. Welcome to geometry. Now, geometry is a mathematical system that's based off of facts, acceptable facts, basic terms, and definitions. Now, those are the two things that we're gonna be talking about today in this lesson. So let's first talk about our defined and undefined terms. Our undefined terms are terms that can only be explained using examples and description. Now we have three of them. The first one is a point. Now with point, the way we usually describe a point is that it's a dot. We can also describe it as a location in space that has no dimension and it has no size. It's just a dot. Now the way we name it with. Now, if you look at this image of a point, there's usually a capital letter next to it. That is the name of the point. So we can say this is point B, or we can use the symbolic way, just simply drawing a point and then putting the letter B. The next one that is undefined is a line. Now, a line, the way we describe it, is a straight path that extends in opposite direction with no end thickness, and it's made up of infinite point. Now the way we name a line is that we simply just need 2 points on the line in any order, or we can use a script letter, but the script letter has to be a lowercase, so it's a lowercase script letter. For example, if we have this line, we can name it by simply having a script letter at by one of the arrows, and we can call it line L, or we can use 2 points. Let's say this is C and this is D, and we can call this line CD, or we can use the symbols for a line, which is just a line, and then CD. And since I said that it could be in any order, we can also call it line DC. And the last undefined term is a plane. Now, a plane is a flat surface that extends in all directions with no end. Notice how it's going in this direction, this direction, this direction, and this direction. Just like a line, it has no thickness. And in order for us to name it, we can use any combination of 3 points that do not create a line. For example, if we have A, B, and C, notice how those 3 points cannot create a line, then we can call this plane A, B, C. Remember, it could be in any combination of those 3, so we can also call it plane BCA, BAC. It doesn't matter as long as it's 3 letters or 3 points that do not create a line. Another way we can also name a plane is by using a capital script letter. Now that capital script letter is usually found in the corner, and I'm going to call this plane M. My script letter there, all fancy. All right, now that we know what our 3 undefined terms are, now we can use them to define our defined terms. So defined terms are terms that have a formal definition and can be defined using other geometric terms. So let's begin with line segment. Notice how it has the word line in it. Now, a line segment is basically part of a line. And if we were to cut off this part of the line here, where we have point C, and then we have point D. So this part of the line, let me draw it a little bit more straight. That part of the line is called a line segment. And these 2 points right here are called my endpoint. So to finish defining a line segment, it's part of the line that has 2 endpoints. Now to name it, all we do is we simply use the 2 endpoints. So in this case, this is my first endpoint, this is my second endpoint. So we can name this segment CD or segment DC, because it could be in any order. So we can use the phrase segment CD or DC, or we can use the symbol CD, and it basically has part of a line or a segment above the 2 points. Let's go on to the next one. The next one is a ray. It's very similar to the segment, but in this one, if we wanted a ray, we would have, again, part of a line, but in this time, we're only going to have one endpoint. So I'm going to choose C as my endpoint, and then I'm just going to draw it through point D. We're going to cut it from here. This becomes my endpoint, and it goes through point D. So in order for us to name it, we use that one endpoint, and then a point or 1 point on the ray. So in this case, we have ray C. We start with the endpoint, and then because it's going through point D, we're going to say ray CD. Or if we would like to use the symbol, we simply use the arrow. So again, we start with your endpoint going through point D, and then we make a miniature ray above it. So the arrow always faces right when you name it. The next one we have collinear points. So I'm going to draw a couple of points, or a few points, right? And collinear points are 3 or more points that lie on the same line. Notice how we can draw a straight line through all of these points. Therefore, these points are collinear. Prefix co means the same. So it's basically the same points. I'm sorry, points on the same line. So let's go backwards. So it's my points on the same, and then of course line. Now if we're looking for non-collinear points, what's the opposite of having points on the same line? Well, it's 3 or more points that do not lie on the same line. So if we were to have point A, point B, let's put point C over here, because we cannot draw a straight line through all those points, those are called non-collinear points. Again, on the word, we can start with points, not on the same. Co means same, non means not, and then line. All right, let's go on to coplanar. Notice how collinear and coplanar are kind of the same. They look the same, except one has plane on it, the other one has linear on it. So in this case, when we're talking about coplanar points, we're talking about points on the same plane. So it's my points that lie on the same plane. So let's go ahead and draw some points. Say A, B, C. I'm going to draw another one here, D. So it's points that lie on the same plane. And if we look at these 4 points, they are all on the same plane. Therefore, they are coplanar points. And if we look at non-coplanar points, again, we start with points that are not on the same plane. Points, our definition is points that do not lie on the same plane. So we'll start with some points that are on the same plane, but if I needed one not on the same plane, then I would just draw a point outside of that plane. And because all points are not on the same plane, then this is an example of non-coplanar points. So that's the end for the lesson on basic terms. Good luck on your assignment.